Welcome back, children. In the last session, we come across what is economics, what is its uses, and consumer, producer, what is the difference between consumers and producers, who is a farmer, and how he is very much helpful for our society, what is the difference between city and a village, isn't it? Barter system, and all those things we come across in the last session. Now, before I start this session, I want to know whether you know what is trade. Trade is buying and selling of goods and services. It's called as trade. This trade is divided into two as internal and international. What is internal trade? The trade carried out between one state to another state is called as internal trade, and the trade which carries between one country to another country is called as an international trade. This international trade further divided into two as bilateral and multilateral. You know what is meant by bilateral? Bi means two. Trade carried out between two countries, that is called as bilateral trade. And if the trade carried out between more than two countries, it is called as a multinational trade or multilateral trade. Okay, now we will go to the next topic, economic activities. Okay, economic activities is an activity of providing, making, buying or selling commodities or services by people to satisfy day-to-day needs of a life, isn't it? Providing, making, that is preparing, buying or selling, just like trade activities, and services, isn't it? What all have these all the things which happen in our day-to-day life, and our country, based on these economic activities, it is divided into three activities. The first one, primary activities, the second, secondary activities, and the third one is called as a tertiary activities. Okay. So, sectors of Indian economy. Now we see primary activities. Activities related to agriculture is called as a primary activities. Farmers and farming relevant activities like cattle rearing, fishing, everything come under the primary activities. Okay. Then secondary activities, whatever produced in the primary activities that manufactured in the secondary activities, that is activities related to industrial purpose. Okay. So, the goods from the primary activities is converted by the machinery as a usable things, that we call it as a secondary activities, and whatever produced in the secondary activities, these were carried out by different agencies like transport and communication, and the other service sectors and all will come under the tertiary activities. Okay. So, now we see what is meant by primary activities. They are concerned with the production of raw material for foodstuff and industrial use. So, the raw materials, what are the raw materials which needed to use for the industries? The raw material which the use for industries by the primary product is called as a, what you can say, primary industries. Okay. So, now we see about agriculture. Agriculture is one of the main primary activity, growing crops, isn't it? These all will come under the agriculture. Agriculture and cattle rearing, these two were interdependent, isn't it? Whenever the monsoon fails, if the farmers didn't get enough money, the supporting income for them is the cattle rearing. So, agriculture and cattle rearing are interdependent. The next one we see about fishing, fish culture, developing the fish, that is also comes under the category of primary activities. The fourth category is the mining. Mining means extracting the minerals. Okay. So, that is called as a mining. Okay. The last category is collection of fruits, nuts, honey, rubber, resin, medicinal herbs and lumbering. So, you know very well fruits, nuts, honey, rubber, resin. This resin is nothing but a sort of gum we collect it from what we can say the plant, that we call it as a resin. Then you know about medicinal plants, that we call it as medicinal herbs. Lumbering, cutting down the trees, that we call it as a lumbering. Lumbering means cutting down the trees. They used to cut the trees for different purpose, isn't it? You can understand now what is meant by the primary activities and what all come under the category of the primary activities. Okay. Now, we will go back to the villages. Okay. Now, we see how the village look like. You all have seen the villages, isn't it? Now, you compare the village with the city. Now, you tell me how a village look like. So, in the village, if you see, the main occupation will be agriculture. Agriculture is the primary occupation in the villages. Okay. And there won't be any kind of facilities like cities. Of course, like cities they won't have, but nowadays they are having some basic facilities, isn't it? At the same time, they get the basic needs fulfilled easily, whatever they need for their daily life. Everything they can get in their village at cheaper cost than the city, isn't it? And you can see there are small shops also will be there in the village. Okay now? So, you can understand what is meant by a village and how a village looks like. Okay. And next we will go villages, the same, the continuation, how a village will look like. In that, the villagers, they used to grow vegetables in abundance. Abundance means more in number. They used to cultivate starting from chilies. You know what is meant by chilies, isn't it? To mustard. Everything will be what I can say cultivated in the villages. All those provision used for food are grown in the villages. That means starting from chilies to mustard, everything were grown in the villages. So, only we are calling them as a producers. These people, they are not producing for themselves, even they are feeding the city people also. We are also dependent on these villagers only. So, their product what happened are brought and sold by some mediators. This is the pitiable things among the farmers. Okay. So, they were corrupted or cheated by some mediators sometime it will happen. So, the farmers will get very little money. So, their products are brought and sold by some mediators, isn't it? I told you already, sometimes these mediators can easily cheat the farmers. So, the farmers get very little money. Really, it is a very pitiable condition, isn't it? You know that these farmers are the real shadow for the city people. Even Gandhiji told, farmers are the backbone of our country. So, now you have already learnt about the cities. Now, we see what are the importance of the cities. Okay, how it is useful for us, and we have a comparative study between the villages as well as the cities. Okay, in cities, if you see, more than 50% of the world population live. So, more than 50% of the world population live in cities. You know why most people like to live in cities? Because of the amenities, the facilities which is available in the cities. Okay. In Tamil Nadu alone, if you take, nearly 47% of people are in cities. Nearly 47 people in Tamil Nadu, they live in cities. And you know, in cities, they will get more job opportunities, isn't it? Starting from labor work, big industrialists everywhere, they will get job facilities. That's what most of the people know, they will prefer to go and settle in cities. So, cities provide more job opportunities than in villages. So, employment opportunities are more in cities than in villages. And you know, people involved in small scale industries. What all comes under the category of small scale industries? Small scale industries means toy making, candle making, isn't it? All your school stationery items, everything will come under the small scale industries. Unorganized syntax means what we can say, all those weavers, potters and fishermen, all these people will come under the category of unorganized sectors. Okay, all these people now at the stage you can see them in cities, and you see there now in cities number of small scale workers are more. This results in additional income in cities. Number of small scale workers, they are more in number, where they can give more income to the cities by paying the taxes and other aspect. No, we can collect enough in the what we can say money from these people. Okay, and you know that in cities well paved roads, pakka roads were there. In villages if you see only mud roads will be there, but in cities well paved roads, that is pakka roads. Ports facilities are there. You know what is meant by port? That harbor, isn't it, where the ship and everything station, no, that is ports facilities. Airports, aeroplane station, isn't it? They are called as airports. Railway stations, these all will help for the development of trade in cities. That is the main thing. So the transport and communication is very good in cities than in villages, which support them for the development of trade. Apart from this, there were many branches of banks are there, which helps in circulation of money. This boosts the country's economy, very much helpful for the development of our economy. The banks, what it will do? It will give loans. To whom it will give loans? People, those who like to start business, they can take loans from the bank. They have to return back, that is the thing, but with the simple interest they can collect loans from the bank and they can develop their business. So all these facilities are there only in cities. Next is all we know about the primary activities over. Now we come to the secondary activities. So whatever the raw material which is obtained in the primary activities, for example agriculture goods, sugar cane, isn't it, cotton, these are all the raw materials. These raw materials will converted into as a finished product through machinery on a large scale. We call it as a secondary activities. Okay, so here the statement here clear, the raw materials obtained from the primary activities. Primary activities means agriculture, isn't it, and it was converted into finished product through machinery on a large scale with the help of machines. Okay, all the raw materials are converted into what I can say finished product. So these activities we used to call it as an secondary activities. So all the industries will come under the category of the secondary activities. This industries, based on the availability of raw material, what are the raw material they are using. Okay, we can divide the industries, and based on the capital means the amount they are invested, small amount or big amount, or in what level they have started the industries, that we call it as a capital. And the third one, you see, ownership, whether the industry is run by a private one or a government or cooperative sector. Based on the ownership, we used to call it as a ownership. Okay, industries. So industries are classified based on the availability of raw materials, capital and ownership. Okay, so on the basis of raw materials, industries are classified as agro based. From the term itself you can understand agro, based on the agriculture product. So agro based industry means the industries depend on the agriculture product, that we call it as an agro based industries. For example, you see cotton textile industry come under the category of an agro based industries, isn't it? So we used to take cotton from the agriculture people, farmers, and we used to make it as a yarn. Then if you want, you can make it as a fabrics, isn't it? Good. The next industry is the sugar mill. This also will come under the category of agro based industries. See, we used to cultivate as a sugar cane from the farmers. We used to collect the what you can say sugar cane, that will be taken to the industries. There it will be crushed we can take it as a juice, we can make it as a jaggery, whatever you want, you can make it as a sugar, and that process we call it as a secondary activity. At last, food processing, isn't it? Food processing also, because with the help of machines we are doing, isn't it? So that also comes under the category of a secondary activity. Okay children, so I hope that you understood about agro based industries, industries which depend on agriculture goods, that we call it as an agro based industries. Okay, cotton, sugarcane, isn't it? All those things are the agriculture product. From that we manufacture the finished product. Okay, so the next industry you see that forest based industry. First forest based industry, paper mill, isn't it? So paper, where the softwood trees, from that we are making the paper, isn't it? So the paper mill, and furnitures, isn't it? Whatever you know, whatever the furniture you know. So the chair, table, and all those things. Yes, isn't it? So these all come under the category of furniture making. And you see, building material, you know, you need windows, doors, and all those things. Mostly made out of wood. So where the wood, you will get this wood from the forest. So this industry also depend on the forest, and it also come under the category of an agro based industries. So these are the important secondary activity industries. The third category, you see, mineral based industries. Minerals, okay, we used to extract the mineral. Mining, mining is a primary activity. From that you make it as a cement, iron, aluminum industries. The minerals you are extracting from that, iron ore, bauxite, like that, these minerals will help us to manufacture the aluminum product. Bauxite is very much useful for aluminum industries. So iron ore is very much useful for iron and steel industries. Next we come across the marine based industries. Marine, water resource, isn't it? So the marine based industries. So in that all the seafood processing will come under the category of marine based industries. Okay, food processing will come under the agro based industries, but you know that seafood processing will come under the marine based industries. Clear now? So the secondary activities, it's over. The next one, there is a tabular column given for you. See this? There is a tabular column given. In this tabular column, clearly with the example it's stated for you. For example, you see, agro based industries. What is an example for an agro based industry? Tell. Okay, vegetable oil, okay, cotton textile, all those things come under the category of agro based industries. And you see the next one, what is the next one? Mineral based industries. So give an example for mineral based industries. Yes, heavy machinery, building materials, all will come under the category of mineral based industries. Good. The third category you see, marine based industries. Example for marine based, manufacturing fish oil. Yeah, this is an example for marine based industries. The last category you see that forest based industries. And now give an example for that. Okay, paper, good, pharmaceuticals, furniture. Okay, pharmaceutical, how the medicinal herbs I told you, no. So based on that, so paper, pharmaceuticals and furniture, everything will come under the category of forest based industries. Okay, now see the picture here. In this picture they clearly showed you different categories of industries. You see this? These all depended on agriculture goods, isn't it? So they come under the category of primary industries. And these industries, you see that forest based products, see wood is there, isn't it? Okay, so these all the wood pulp, this is wood pulp. So all those things come under the category of forest based industries. Okay, the next you see that mineral based industries, big factories and all are shown, isn't it? Okay, the fourth one, ocean floor they are showing. So, the marine resources, isn't it? So, the marine based industries. Okay. They are the 4 category of industries. Hope that you understood about the secondary activities. Now, we come across the tertiary activities. Tertiary. I have already told you that industries produce goods and distribute them to the people. For this purpose, some services are required. These services are called as a tertiary activities or services activities. You know very well, primary activities, they will produce the raw material. In secondary activities, they will convert the raw materials into finished product. We otherwise call it as a service sector. It serves the people to fulfill their daily needs. What are the daily needs we need? We need transport very much, isn't it? So, what type of transport you come across? You know very well, roadways are there, isn't it? And railways, waterways, airways. These are the 4 types. You know that this roadway is the feeder for railways, waterways and airways. Through roadways only you can go all the 3, isn't it? So, the main thing is roadways. When you come across the railways, isn't it? You come across different types of railways are there now, the recent development of metro railways. Did you have seen about it? Okay. So, railways and waterways. This waterways through ships. This is the cheapest mode of transport compared to others. This waterway, because at a time bulk of products you can carry through ships. No, you can carry bulk of product. Okay, and you can export to any country. Okay, because waterways can be easily linked from one country to another country. Then airways, quicker transport. If you want to transport your goods very fast, you have to depend on airways, isn't it? So, this is a quicker way of transport. Then you see the next category is communication, isn't it? Communication. Communication means it's clearly understood. Definitely there must be 2 people. A single person, they can't communicate themselves, isn't it? They will talk in a different manner, isn't it? So, communication means what? You must need 2 people. Okay. So, this communication divided as postal communication, telephone department, information and technology, IT field, the fast developing field, IT field only, isn't it? Through postal. The postal departments, inland post is there, as well as international level is there, telephone facilities, isn't it? A well advanced technology nowadays we are getting through telephone field, in that field, isn't it? So, the communication plays an important role in the service sector. So, the third category you see, trade. Trade is nothing but procurement of goods by purchasing a bulk amount of goods from one area to another area. And next one is selling. You have to sell, that is export item. You have to export, or what I can say, if we have shortage, no, we used to import from other countries. This is only called as selling, buying or selling, we used to sell. If there is excess, naturally what will happen? We used to sell to the foreign countries, isn't it? That we call it as an export. If this deficiency, shortage, immediately what we will do? We used to buy from the foreign countries. That we call it as an import. Which is good? Export is good or import is good? A country, if it wants to well develop, means export should be more and import should be minimized. Then only we call it as a balance of a trade. That country will progress well. Okay. So, the next category we see about banking. You know, money transaction. For buying and selling goods, no, that we call it as a money transaction. Okay. We need money for buying and selling goods, we need money, isn't it? And so, for that we are full and full dependent on banking service, isn't it? So, the banking is very much important for the development of our trade. Okay, now, so this all comes under the category of tertiary sector. You see this first 4 we see transport, that is roadways, railways, waterways and airways. The second category is communication, post, telephone, information technology, etc. The third one is trade, that means purchasing large amount of goods and selling, no, that we call it as a trade. and the fourth sector is about the banking, transaction of money and bank service, that will come under the category of banking. Okay. Now we come across all these sectors, isn't it? Economic activities. These economic activities are interdependent. You know what is meant by interdependent? Each and everyone depended on one another. If primary sector is not there, there is no secondary. If secondary sector is not there, there is no tertiary sectors. So these economic activities are interdependent. Okay. So these economic activities we used to divide into 3 groups, okay, or different categories. They are highly interdependent. That means I told you already, the primary sector highly depended on secondary sector, or you can take like this, even the secondary sector depended on the primary sector. So the raw material are produced in the primary sector, isn't it? It may be agro based industries or mineral based industries, whatever it is, the raw materials are produced in the primary sector, and whatever produced in the primary sector, it processed and finished into secondary sector. This will be taken into the secondary sector. Okay. And there is assistance is provided by tertiary sector. You know very well, the third category of sector is tertiary sector. By this sector, we can do, there will be 2 different activities. I will give 2 different examples for you. You see, for example, sugarcane. Okay, sugarcane you can take it as an example. Sugarcane is a primary industry, and this sugarcane, it will be taken to the factories. There it used to crushed. When it crushed, and we can make it as a jaggery, or you can make it as a sugar, whatever it is, that will come under the category of secondary activities. The same sugar which was produced in the secondary activities, if you make it as a sweet and sell in the market, okay, and it will be transported through different what you can say agencies, that like buses, lorries, whatever it is, that we come under the category of tertiary sector. And here with the picture I will show an example for you, that is iron ore. See this? Iron ore. What work is going on here? Mining work is going on, isn't it? So this mining is the primary sector. You see this? Whatever item it was mined here, it has taken to the factories. And you see that here the iron ore, they are melting the iron and smelting it and manufacturing it whatever form you want, isn't it? They have rolled it. Okay, this will come under the category of tertiary sector. And with this, I will end this session. Thank you very much.